My name is Ben Fortier, and today's day is June 13th, 2013. Yeah, I was the mill electrician. I was one of a few, and my main job here was troubleshooter, keep machinery running. I worked in all the mills that Pepple had, including the dungeons, the canals, and everywhere else that's imaginable. And I started here, I was back in 1983, and I stayed here till about 1987. Then I left for a while. I came back to work in 1995, and my exit date here was when the papers were signed by Doug Sanford. I was one of the last few men out, and that date was June 15th of 2010. And my main job was to keep the machinery running, keep the mill well lit, service the office areas, and to have consultation with the supervision in each department as to what the problems were with the machines. And we worked together on, if the machine was still runnable, we let it run, and we find a time to work on it at a more convenient toward production. And as little as that sounds, that was pretty big and major. This is a big mill, a lot of machinery, a lot of floors, and a lot of miles. One day I was looking to find work. I had worked at Soccer Tanning, so I left there because they went down, they went bankrupt. And I was looking for work, so I heard about an opening over here at West Point. And I come for an interview with a man named Norman LaRochelle, who later turned out to be my supervisor. And like I said, I worked here for about 4.5 years back in the early 80s, and then I come back to work in 1995. And it's been a great experience because textile, being one of the last industries in the state, is a total unique process in itself. And I've learned a lot over the years with the equipment and with people. I worked here the last 15 years until it closed. And I have no regrets about my time here or with the people I've met or had to work with or talk to. Everybody was very willing and cooperative, and well, understanding to a point, I guess. They were understanding, but jobs had to be done one way or another. That's good.
That's good.
My job here, I started, it was on nights, second shift. And I believe there was a breakdown on one of the ranges, and I was called to go up and to see what the problem was. I had never seen a range before, and a lot of my training here was pretty much spot on the job as it was. I've had people I could go to ask questions about. There was some material here that I could read up on. We had a small filing system of information, and we worked on that over the years, getting that built up. And it was unique. The range 1 was one of my worst nightmares, for the simple reason there was no schematics on the machine. It was open a fitting and pull the wire, see where it went. And until you knew the system, until you figured out this was that, that was this. It turned out to be pretty good after a while. But without the paperwork to follow, without the schematics, it was a little hard going at first. But every day was a challenge, and nothing was the same day by day, which to me I liked. And throughout the rest of the mill, it was the same thing. Over the years, over time, I've collected a lot of information. We started a filing cabinet and put all the information in the filing cabinet, everything we found on the machinery. We labeled it as such, and in my spare time, I used to take a folder out and go over a certain machine just for review, to get myself more familiar with it, because there was a lot to these machineries, the equipment here. And of course, over the time, they modernized a lot of their equipment, and even at that point, there was more to do. But it was fun, interesting, and unique. And the people helped very much, all the operators and the supervisors of each department. They were, sort of say, a mild backup, because they understood the machine, they knew what it was supposed to do, and how it reacted. And that helped me out quite a bit, even with the paperwork.
Okay, stop. Right now.
Okay. I originally started on second shift, and eventually over time I've worked my way to a first shift position, doing the same job, and my duties were basically the same. And I've worked all over the mill. I've worked the second shift, I've worked third shift, I've worked intermediate shifts, I've worked 12-hour shifts, whatever it took to keep the place going. I was here night and day. I saw more of these people than I saw my family. And my family, my wife was very understanding, thank goodness for that. My job was always part of my world. I took my job seriously, and what I didn't know, I tried to find out. And I used to take a walk. When I was first on days and all throughout the rest of my years, I took 2 tours of the plant each and every day. One was in the morning, and I walked through every department, and I would say hi to all the workers, all the operators, and the supervisors. And the reason for this was, in case something happened in the early morning, I was already out and about, and if the machine was down, hopefully I was in that department when it happened. So I would cut down on downtime by that respect. And my second tour duty was in the afternoon, probably right after noontime, right after lunch. And I would do the same thing there. I would go by and see all the operators and see if everything was doing all right. And in the same token, if something was not right, I was there. And I was ready to do whatever it took to be done. And I think the people and the supervisors of these departments, they appreciated that. And I try not to waste anybody's time, much less my own. And that was being part of maintenance. It's about the equipment and about the plant. And it's about the money, that the product, the well-being of all the people here. And my first concern is safety. I don't work on anything unless it was shut off, and I didn't let anybody around unless things were good enough for them to run. And being maintenance, that's what it was about.
Good.
In my tour duty of touring the mill on my job, if I was in one part of the mill and they needed me for something on the other end, on a priority factor, as we call it, depending on what machine it was, they called me off my beeper. I used to carry a beeper. When the beeper rang, I had to find the phone, the plant phone, and call up the operator. The operator would tell me what number to call. And that's how I would know where to go from one end to the other. And as the years went by, they invested in the walkie-talkies. And walkie-talkies, the supervisors all had them, and if they needed me, they would call me off the walkie-talkie. And that's how I would get my jobs, no matter where I was through the plant. And those were busier times because the operator was taken out of the loop, and a lot of times I had to report back to my supervisor just so he'll know where I was. But when we had walkie-talkies, he knew where I was most of the time. And every now and then he would ask if everything was going good on certain jobs, and we'd discuss it. But for the most part, it was the communication factor. The sooner you got communicated with, the better off everybody was here. And I think the walkie-talkies was probably the best way to go in a system that was growing fast. The beepers outweighed themselves. They got obsolete by the use of walkie-talkies. The beepers, you wasted time finding the phone, calling the operator, then you had to call whoever called her that wanted you. And there was a lot of time wasted there with a lot of that. As with the walkie-talkie, it was almost instantaneous, and the response was quicker. And, a lot of times, that walkie-talkie would put too much weight in my pocket, and the pants would just start to droop, or I'd crawl underneath a piece of equipment. It would end up on the floor, and I'd come out and I'd take off to go to someplace else, and I'd find I didn't have my walkie-talkie, so I had to go back and crawl back underneath the machine or on top of the unit. That happened quite a bit. That was the only drawback with those things, because we had to carry quite a few things along with that, you know, our tools and other stuff, you know, spare parts in our pockets. It did show that there was stuff in our pockets and our tool bag to help things along somewhat. So, yeah, very interesting times. And as I was saying, you know, I had a lot of memories here in this mill. A lot of the people here, all the people were fantastic. I enjoyed the people. I think I miss the people the most. You know, I like the work, but it's the people I miss. It's their morning smile, their afternoon greetings, how they talk. You can kind of tell the temperament of people in the course of a day. And when this place, West Point, had closed down, which will be 3 years come this Saturday, which is June 15th, and it closed down June 15th, 2010. This Saturday will be June 15, 2013, so it'll be 3 years ago this Saturday coming. And it's, since then, I've been a displaced worker, unable to find work in my field, and so I've been going to school. I was going to school for the first couple of years. I graduated from SMCC, Southern Maine Community College, 2-year program there. And since then, I still haven't found anything. But there's a lot of things out there that have changed as well. The industries aren't there, the work is not quite the same, as well as wages. Wages aren't the same either. The benefits are not there, and things have changed in the workforce. It's not a booming business